For offshore wind, you need three things. You need to be close to the grid, you need a shallow seafloor, and you need a good wind resource. And when we look in British Columbia, and in fact look across the world, there's few places better suited to that formula than the Hecate Strait.
Nanaimo Wind Farm has proposed to put a wind farm pretty much in the center of the best fishing grounds of the Hecate Straits. Some of the downsides of doing it are, one, that they're going to interfere with the crab fishery, and the other one is that it's a very, very rough part of the world, so it's going to have a lot of negative impacts from weather in that area.
It would be Canada's first offshore wind farm, comprised of 110 turbines and producing enough electricity at full capacity to power 120,000 homes in British Columbia.
The Area A designation is, the crab fleet is split up into several different areas, and Area A is primarily out of Masset and Prince Rupert, and fish in the Hecate Strait area and around Haida Gwaii. There's 53 vessels. They're all fairly large vessels. They carry a lot of traps.
Well, we've pegged the economic value to British Columbia's GDP in excess of $150 million. And jobs, construction jobs of over 200 during construction, and about 50 permanent jobs that are required to actually maintain and run the wind farm.
The fishery is quite important to the economy of Prince Rupert and Masset. $10 million landed value some years in that fishery, and they lay out 35,000 traps a year into the Hecate Straits.
Well, we've been talking with Area A Crab Association for the last 8 years, and at Nanaimo, it's been for us a matter of learning about their sector and hopefully having them learn about ours. And in the particular case, with so little knowledge about offshore wind in British Columbia, it's been a difficult conversation, there's no doubt about it. And I think probably about 3.5 years ago, we got to the point where we wondered where to go from here.
It gets a sense when they first started talking that, you know, this project is going to go ahead no matter what Area A might think of what the impacts may be to them, and their sense of being ignored or their concerns being ignored or being overridden, not having a place to actually deal with them effectively.
It was really Dan's vision, Dan Edwards' vision, when he came on board with the Area Crab Association, and his knowledge around marine spatial planning and processes that he's been through and was aware of, that got us interested in the concept.
We did it very strategically. We said to Nanaimo, let's use this process because that's what it's supposed to do. And if we don't have that kind of process, we're liable not to have any place where we can actually sit down and deal with our issues. And there was one particular project, it was a crab mobility study that Nanaimo has committed to through their environmental assessment. And so we use that as a kind of a launching pad for the beginning of a discussion around marine planning.
Our understanding at Nanaimo of their concern was the interaction of the cables that are buried under the seafloor connecting the wind turbines with the grid and with one another, and the movement of the crab population seasonally or during the season. And the concern being that if the cables were in fact a barrier to movement, that the crab wouldn't be able to move and wouldn't be able to migrate and follow food. And I think what we got to was, when we started talking about it, was the knowledge about whether or not the crab even move. So we kind of broke it down to the very fundamentals and said, what do we know about whether or not crab move? And I think what we found when we started talking about that was the different opinions that exist. And that really identified the opportunity for us to work together to come up with a study that would benefit us both.
The positive side of it is that if you're working together, you're actually creating synergies between the companies that are involved. So when Nanaimo is willing to put resources into a crab mobility study, that study will give more knowledge and science to the crab fleet.
We will have spent between $5 and $6 million on environmental assessment that merely looks at our individual project. And when we look at that, we think of all the great things we've learned that could be shared across all these sectors. And by bringing them together, you can really leverage the resources that are spent across our project and others in the region and start to bring together some critical mass and hopefully not have to do things over and over and over again.
The main point is that they're interest-based consensus building processes, and that your interests will be respected. If you don't have that, then what happens is litigation and court cases and basically confrontation on the water, all those things that often happen because people can't find a place to sit down and work out their concerns.
It's good for the economy because, like it or not, a project like ours and bringing green energy to the grid is about attracting investment. And when people look at a project like ours, they want to know that things like the environmental assessment and the science and the questions around it have been answered before they come to the jurisdiction to invest their money.
We still got lots of work to do on the marine planning end, and we're still just starting that. But we think, and I mean, we consciously went ahead with Nanaimo to try and develop a framework for finding solutions within marine planning framework. We think that we've succeeded, in a small way on showing in other industries how you can make this work.
Marine spatial planning provides a forum. It provides the structure that's needed when you do have an imbalance between sectors, whatever that imbalance might be. We spent a lot of time building the structure within which we're all going to work. And that's the terms of reference, the rules by which we're going to engage, and making sure that we're all on the same page with respect to coming out of this process with a better understanding of what we do, and with the goal of ensuring both the environmental and economic sustainability of our oceans.